Hello, you're with us too also, right?
Yes, good morning, Peter. Yes, Bob.
Excellent. Okay.
Peter, good to see you.
I think we're good. I think we're good, Chan. Let's go ahead and kick things off.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, depending on your time zone. My name is Chang Ha. By this point, you have received lots of emails from me. So sorry to email bombing you for the last couple of weeks. Welcome to the launch of the EdTech Policy Academy. Here we are today joined by almost 20 countries. I think we're 19 at this point. And we're supposedly...
Hello. Good afternoon.
Good morning, Alcardo. We are expecting almost 200 people connecting all across Africa. Sorry. Because we are connected with so many people on this call, I would really recommend everybody muting their microphone and waiting for, let me mute a couple more participants. Yeah, so this launch event right now is interpreted in 2 different languages. So I'm speaking in French, in English, but you could also listen in French. If you look at the left bottom of the screen, you will see a globe sign, and Sarah would be writing that in the chat how to do so. So if you go click on the globe sign, there's a drop-down box with languages, and if you click on the French, you will be able to hear the conversations in French. So with the interest of time, I would like to welcome Mr. Peter Materu from MasterCard Foundation to provide us a few opening remarks, and then over to our practice manager at the Global Unit of the World Bank, Halil. So from Peter to Halil, please. So Peter, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chang Ha. And first, to all the participants, distinguished guests, partners, good afternoon. And thank you for setting aside time to be here with us this afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you in this unique event, which really is a result of the partnership between us and the World Bank. I'm particularly inspired by the leadership of government represented here by a number of senior representatives as we reflect on how to unlock opportunities towards more resilient education systems. Last year, as some of you may know, about 12 countries participated in the academy. And I understand that this year we have more than 15 countries participating. And for us, that speaks volumes.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Peter.
All right. Okay, so that speaks volumes for us to see that this is a growing partnership. Now, as many of you might be aware, MasterCard Foundation's vision is a world where everyone, every young person, irrespective of his or her beginnings, can learn and prosper. And in 2018, the foundation launched a 10-year strategy, which we call Young Africa Works, whose goal is to enable 30 million young people, especially young women in Africa, to access dignified and fulfilling work by 2030. And in that process, also strengthen institutions and systems that are necessary to sustain this into the future. And we're implementing this strategy across the whole of Africa through 7 country offices located in Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, Rwanda, Senegal, and Uganda. And with an intentional commitment to inclusion, leveling the playing field for young women, but also for people with disabilities, refugees, and displaced persons. And our primary focus is on the ones that are most economically disadvantaged or in circumstances that are difficult to reach. We meet the young people where they are, from education and skilling to connecting young people to opportunities, and also doing what is possible and what is necessary to expand opportunities for young people in the labor market, primarily through entrepreneurship. As most of us here may know, Africa's demographic trends position the continent in a very opportune moment if we do the right things. By the year 2050, 1 in 4 people born in the world will be African. And as we know, every year, many, many young people enter the labor market with different levels of education and skilling, but only 2 to 3 of them find wage employment.
Ndiyo mkuu, basi mtajibu kama hivyo ulivyoshauri.
At a time when the active labor force in several other regions of the world is decreasing, the African continent's working age population is estimated to increase by 2/3, from 370 million in 2010 to about 600 million in 2030. For us at the Mastercard Foundation, we believe strongly that this is an opportunity that must be seized. The question before us is whether Africa's labor force will be ready to seize the opportunities of the day. And this is why workforce development, to arm young people with the knowledge and skills they need to be competitive globally, is so, so important. It is foundational. Secondly, entrepreneurship is key, in our view, to enable young people with innovative ideas to bring them to life and grow them into successful enterprises that will hire others. And I'm pleased to say that for us, workforce development and entrepreneurship have been and continue to be the focus of our work to 2030 and beyond. Among others, digital skills are critical to Africa's development. And some of you who were at the July 2023 Africa Heads of State Summit in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, heard our heads of state say that. The leaders highlighted that digital skills are not just an economic imperative, but a key driver of social inclusion and human capital development across the continent. And this year we had the same in Abuja at the third Ministerial Forum on EdTech in Africa. So our leaders have set the tone. And in a way, this is a call to action. So as decision makers and implementers in this meeting here today, I would like to suggest that we all reflect together how to respond to this call and harness the opportunity that technology presents to transform the future of young people in the continent. Through the Center for Innovation, Teaching and Learning at the Mastercard Foundation, our partners are working on solutions that support governments in scaling education initiatives and to make education systems more resilient. And as a part of this effort, the Mastercard Foundation has partnered with the World Bank to support countries to put in place resilient hybrid education systems. An emphasis here is on future digital skills that will be required for the jobs of tomorrow and for driving innovations across sectors. As we work in this partnership with the World Bank, smart use of technology is important. It's no longer an option, but rather essential for expanding access to quality education and for skills development to meet the needs for economic growth in the continent. And we know, all of us know, that the age of artificial intelligence and big data is here with us. And we see great opportunity here. Africa can and must be part of this. Let us empower our young people and communities to adapt and leapfrog into this era. But please let me add one caveat. The goal here is not to replace brick and mortar, but rather to augment and accelerate the pace. Existing projections show that to meet the current and future demand using brick and mortar, we would need about 100,000 classrooms, new classrooms every year, and millions of teachers. Now, this is hard to achieve logistically and financially. And so hybrid systems that leverage technology can help us move faster using the limited human and financial resources available. So let us embrace technology for scalable, flexible, and hybrid education models that can bridge the gap today and for future generations. And it starts with setting the right policies and strategies. And I'm pleased that in our partnership with the World Bank, we're working with countries to look at EdTech policies to ensure that they continue to enable resilient learning systems. We are excited about this partnership and look forward to working together to take this forward, even beyond policy, into action on the ground. I wish you success as you embark on this critical journey. Time is of essence, and as we say at the Mastercard Foundation, the young people cannot wait. They are counting on all of us to build systems in which they can thrive and be globally competitive. So let this time we are together here be one we will look back onto in the future as a pivotal moment of change, as a point of inflection towards more resilient learning systems that can withstand any shocks that come. And let us make this part of what will define our legacy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Peter. Over to you, Halil.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much, my colleagues, Bob, Alex, Changchi, the EQUA organizing this important event. This is the second, as a follow-up, I think last spring you had this event. In partnership with our colleagues at Mastercard Foundation, we are very pleased to offer this important, actually, policy, as we call this Policy Academy, bringing together all key policy the officials from 19 or 20 countries across the region. There is a huge challenge in the region. We recognize this at all levels of education, but there is also an opportunity if we can act now. I think many of our the countries are addressing the challenges we are facing. There is a huge learning poverty, as we call, but there is also an opportunity right now if we can act to improve the skills for youth to take advantage of opportunities. Both West and East Africa last 2 years, actually 3 years, they launched a very ambitious education strategies to address both learning poverty, but also skills for youth. We are very pleased to partner with MCF, the Mastercard Foundation, to launch this important agenda to improve skills for youth. As part of this, the digital skills play very important role. We are addressing this through our programs, the projects across regions, and then as part of this, how we can really work together to build some of the skills and learn from each other. There are many successful examples across the region, and then we can take advantage of this through this kind of learning events our teams have been organizing last few years. The Education Policy Academy is one of them. Of course, we have been working across our programs and projects across the regions. One of the objectives of this session today, you will start next few weeks, you will learn from each other, analyze education, the technology, the policies, programs, experience across regions, learn from each other, and develop new strategies as part of the education technology, digital skills, and the use of also new technology, artificial, as Peter mentioned, artificial intelligence is here. We can take advantage of it to improve the learning across the region, build the skills needed for economic growth and the poverty reduction across the region. This is a learning experience. I hope you will really learn from each other and also new skills, the trends, what's happening across the region globally, and then build on those skills. Our programs, our country teams, they have been working with you. will work with you. We identified the skills as one of our core areas of development next 10 years or so in both parts of the region, East and West Africa. They as I mentioned, we identify this is one of the areas we can work together to really address the challenges faced across the region. I wish really you next few weeks to learn from each other, ask the questions, ask the information, how we can really continue to develop the programs, projects, the policies to build more resilient systems, and also the design and develop the programs will help you to build the skills needed for the future. Thank you so much. Over to you, Changa.
Thank you so much, Halil. Actually, in addition to MasterCard Foundation, FCDO is another partner for this EdTech Policy Academy. Rachel Hinton from FCDO had a conflict and wasn't able to join, but thank you also for Rachel and FCDO to support our upcoming or current EdTech Policy Academy. Now, I would like to walk you guys through a few slides on the introduction of 2024 EdTech Policy Academy for Africa. These are a few slides that you are already walked through during the onboarding, but I wanted to give you guys a high-level view again. So many of you guys are returning from the previous iteration, but EdTech Policy Academy is a capacity building program for not only the bank employees, but our client countries' government officials. It's to deepen knowledge and skills for the EdTech, and in particular focus for this policy academy is implementation of the EdTech policy that many of you worked on developing last year. So the participants are divided into country teams, and throughout the 3 weeks of the course, you, along with the support of the instructors, are requested to work on a project. And we have already, during the onboarding sessions, introduced you to the roadmap that you will develop based on each country team meetings. Halil already kind of outlined the 3 main goals of the Policy Academy for this year. It's not only to analyze the developed policies from last year, it's about knowledge sharing across the countries. And again, the focus of this PA is about implementing EdTech strategies and really focusing on the prioritization of various gaps that your countries are experiencing in terms of EdTech. And as a cross-cutting theme, it's to explore the role of AI. And during this week, from Tuesday to Friday, there will be a series of discussions on various topics of AI, of EdTech, and within each conversation, you will be able to hear AI as a cross-cutting theme, and we'll speak more on that starting tomorrow. And again, sorry, let me mute. So right now we are starting week 1. Sorry, participants, if you could mute your mic, that would be great. Thank you. So starting week 1, we are here, panel discussions. For each panel, we invited country teams to represent your country and share your lessons learned during and after the PA Spring 2023. What has happened? What have been the challenges, and any lessons learned during those time frame? We invited the countries to speak during the panel. And then week 2 is actually when you meet your own country and really discuss the next steps and moving forward for implementing that tech policy that was developed from the previous iteration and onward. And after you work on your country teams, the roadmap, you will have the chance to share your presentations with, again, in a plenary session meeting with other 19 countries from EdTech Policy Academy. And for this, we will have 2 sessions, one in English and one in French. And we will circulate those links closer to those dates. And across the 3 weeks, estimated learning time is between 10 to 15 hours. And most of those hours are actually for this week when you meet other countries for panel discussions. And to be eligible for certification, you are required to post at least 1 portfolio entry per week. And more about the platform, we will invite Sarah to walk you guys through at the end of this session. So again, for the panel tomorrow, we're going to talk about devices and connectivity. Wednesday, it'll be digital skills and digital resources. Thursday, it'll be about EMIS and implementation capacity. And then on Friday, it'll be a special French session where Sahel region countries and Senegal will be featured under Open Schools Initiative. And from Tuesday to Friday, we will meet at the same hour. So please let me know if you have any questions. We haven't circulated the meeting link yet to minimize the confusion, but in the text of today's meeting link, there is a link to tomorrow's panels and throughout the week, but we will circulate again, so please be on the lookout. And I'll stop here, and I would like to invite Dr. Lucia Delagnello to talk about to lead a panel on a few countries that had been kind of like at the head start of EdTech policy drafting. So let me invite Lucia to speak with the panels. Over to you, Lucia.
Thank you, Chan. Hi, good morning, good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome to this session on the journey that countries undergo to design and implement their EdTech policies. Some of the countries that are going to present today really started this journey as a result from the participation of the Policy Academy last year. So as you can see, there are high expectations for this group. We hope all countries leave Policy Academy with a good roadmap to action, really mobilized to advance their policies, their EdTech policies. The goal of this session is not only to highlight what went well, but also to reflect on the challenges and the lessons learned along the way. Policymaking is a complex process, is a very dynamic process that can benefit greatly from shared insights. So I think beforehand, all the countries that are willing to share with us the lessons that they learn and the recommendations that they have for countries that are starting their process of drafting their EdTech policies. So I will ask each guest to introduce themselves, saying their names and their positions, and dive directly to the question: what was the process? What was the where are you at the stage of development of your EdTech policy? What were the main steps that were taken to have this EdTech policy? What were the challenges that were faced during this process, and what recommendations they would give countries that are starting this process? So I start by inviting Bella from Rwanda to share. I know it's a lot of things to share, but I think it's important that we start this Policy Academy by this spirit of sharing lessons learned, because that's what is going to guide us and really make this experience a unique one for African countries. So over to you, Bella.
Thank you very much, Lucia. Good afternoon and good morning to everyone. I'm Bella Rigamba. I'm the Chief Digital Officer at the Ministry of Education in Rwanda. As my role is to actually look after the digitalization of the education sector as a whole. And because I sit at the ministry, some of the main role or activities that I need to work on are also drafting policies and strategies. So where are we now in our EdTech policy? Or maybe I could need to start at what was the process. So first, there was a need to update an EdTech policy that we had previously, and it was built in 2016, and it was called the ICT in Education Policy. So we got the need to update it because when we talk about technology, 8 years is pretty long. So we had to have it updated. And we decided, instead of calling it an ICT in education, which to us felt like it was going to be too much centered around the infrastructure only, to call it more of an EdTech policy, because we wanted to also include in the aspect of collaboration with the private sector and with EdTech companies, and go beyond just the infrastructure that is needed for having technology in teaching and learning. So that was the first step, needs to update this. And we were lucky to have the World Bank with the support from the MasterCard Foundation that were ready to support us on that. So that's where we started, and we decided to have it not just to work with a consultant to help us, but to be part of the whole process. Lucky again, we have Lucia that supported us. On this drafting of the new policy, but we created internal task force that was made of several members from the universities, from the Ministry of Education, from affiliated agencies from the Ministry of Education, and universities, some private, some public. And we use this task force to draft the first big lines, so the objectives, the mission, the principles that we wanted to abide by. And at each step, we will engage also the other stakeholders. So the other stakeholders were, for example, the Ministry of ICT, because if we talk EdTech, we talk technology, and this is now in the area that is focused by the Ministry of ICT, but we also engage the development partners, the public, the private sector, other different regulators. So we made sure that we had everyone that we want to work with in the implementation of this policy part of the drafting. Now, where we are at is that we've passed all these different steps, drafting this document, making sure that all the voices were heard. Now it's ready to be presented for approval. So we are still at the approval stage, waiting for the approval. Since it's a policy, it needs to be approved by the cabinet. So that's where we are at. So we drafted it. We feel it's complete. It's ready just to be presented at the cabinet now for approval. I think, yes, Lucy, I don't know if I've answered all the questions, but I believe those were the questions that were asked.
Yeah. What recommendations would you give to other countries?
Yeah, so I had forgotten one. So the recommendation, and maybe the challenges also, I think that was also one of the questions that were there. So what the first challenge that was there was to make sure that we are on the time that we had put ourselves for us to be done. And this is still a challenge because we wanted to have this policy approved by the beginning of the year, so around March and April. So you can see that this has already passed. So the first challenge is really the time. So you can decide on a timeline, but it doesn't always work as you wish, especially for policy development. It has a different steps that you need to fulfill, and sometimes, I mean, the agenda and the calendar of all the different stakeholders do not always match. So the first challenge, and maybe the most important challenge, is the time. Now, what I will then suggest also to other countries is that, yes, you need to plan and also make sure that you think of this time that is needed for this policy to be approved. So whatever drafting that you do, you need to do it as fast as possible, because it's something that you can do as a technical people at the technical level. Do it as fast as you can, so that this other process that needs approvals from cabinet, from higher leadership, that sometimes take long, is the only one that takes you the time. So drafting needs to be done as fast as possible, so that if you plan to have maybe a full year for all the different consultations and everything, do your drafting within maybe 2 months, and then you have the 8 and 10 months for the rest, instead of doing the drafting for 6 months, because you still need the 10 months for the rest. So really work as fast as you can in the drafting and technical work, and then have the remaining time for the collaboration. The other thing is you need to engage with all your stakeholders from the start. So because we had engaged the stakeholders from the start, the drafting was a bit faster, because whenever we will present where we are at, there wouldn't be too many new suggestions coming in. So you don't need to like rework a lot on your document, because they were already part of the first draft. So if you do the first draft well, with everyone part of the activities, then the subsequent I'll say reviews.
The rounds of
Reviews
discussion.
will take much more less time, and you will not need to redo your documents so often. So engage your stakeholders at the beginning, so that they feel part of this, and this will also really help in the implementation. Although we are not yet at the implementation, but then it will really help on the implementation, because they really know exactly what is in the policy. So I think those are the recommendations I will give.
Thank you so much, Bella. There's so much that we'd like to hear, but let's go to Alcardo from Tanzania to share with us their experience in the same questions, the steps that you went through, the challenges and the recommendations. Over to you, Alcardo.
Thank you, Lucia. Good morning, good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. So I'm Alcardo Alex Barakabis from Tanzania, and the chairperson of the task force which developed the National Digital Education Strategy 2024 up to 2030. So this is a new strategy for the country, and I'm the chairperson who developed in collaboration with my colleagues from different sectors. So how we started? So we started this process by looking into different aspects. So one was the situation analysis of our country, where the education status is standing at the moment. So the second was looking at the policy context. That's the national policy, regional policy, and international policies regarding the national, the digital education implementation and national and different ICT policies. So so we looked into these two aspects. So starting with the situation analysis itself. So we needed to start with the situation analysis, where we conducted, where we're exploring how the different technologies are being used in schools, for example, in universities, and on technical and vocational training colleges across the country. So the first team did this situation analysis for a number of months, and they came out with a report, which now indicated what the situation is at the ground in schools and in different colleges across the country. So that's what the first step, where to know the current status of our technology implementation in our education system. And then we came to start now the process of developing the digital national digital education strategy. So started in February, March this year. Having that report, it indicated clear there is a need to have a national digital education strategy. So looking into the policy context, so the 2022, 2023, up to this year, we have seen a huge transformation of different digital strategic documents and the policy frameworks from our government. So one, we have, for example, the e-government strategy 2022 up to 2027. So we have the National Digital Economy Strategy Framework. The government also is developing the national ICT policy, which is new one. So the current document we have is National ICT Policy 2016, which looks to be outdated. So we have also the National Research Monitoring and Evaluation Framework of 2020. We have also many other documents which are very, very current. So looking into this context, we came also to look at the regional context and found that there are different documents from the African Union specifically. For example, the Continental Education Strategy 2025, and the African Union is currently also developing the Continental Education Strategy 2025 up to 2030. So we have the African Union Digital Education Strategy 2022, which is running up to 2028. So it's 5 years. So looking into all these policy documents at the national level and regional and international level, coming to international level, we have the UNESCO ICT guidelines and the implementation plans 2022. This is very, very current ICT policies from the UNESCO, which is a worldwide organization for guiding the implementation of ICT in the education sector. So we have this in our mind, and then from the situation analysis that we conducted, I came to find out there is a need to have now the country, the National Digital Education Strategy for Tanzania. So that's how we started. So from there, from the situation analysis, from the policy at the national level, regional and international level, we came now to select the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, formed a team, a national task force team for now developing the digital education strategy. So the team itself consists of members from the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, from the Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, that's the Ministry of ICT. We have the ministry responsible for education sector in our country. So we have representatives from universities, we have representatives from the industry, and we have representatives from development partners. So specifically, for example, from UNICEF, who received also, yes?
May I ask you to go to the recommendation, because we still have 2 countries, and I'm sure that people have many questions and would like to discuss with you. But in interest of time, can you tell your recommendations and suggestions for other countries that want to develop their EdTech policies?
Yes. So that's how we started. So the current status of the National Digital Education Strategy, we have completed the development. So we went through a presentation to the management of the Ministry of Education. We had the national dialogue in June. That was 2 days event where we invited all stakeholders from schools, from TVET, colleges, and universities to provide their feedbacks and the comments in the National Digital Education Strategy. So it was a very, very inclusive exercise since when we started up to this moment. So the document is actually ready, and we are hoping at the end, actually, if not this week, probably next week, it will be launched by the Minister of Education, Science and Technology. So that's the only event we are waiting for. It's the launching event, but the document, the strategic document is ready. My recommendation to other countries, having the strategic framework is very, very good for our countries. And I would recommend to start the process of developing these policy strategic documents very, very as soon as possible. Why? Because these are the guiding documents that will lead you to a successful implementation and the integration of digital technologies in our schools, teacher colleges, for technical and vocation and the training college in our countries and in our higher institutions, specifically universities. So that's will be my recommendation. So the second recommendation is to have a very, very inclusive team while developing this kind of strategic document so that everyone can be included, can be represented in this exercise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ricardo. Really good advice. So let's move to Mulune from Ethiopia that just developed their EdTech policy, their new EdTech policy. Can you share the lessons that you've learned and your recommendations to other countries?
Thank you, Lucia. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, organizers, for inviting me to share our experiences to our friends and countries and governments. In terms of where we are, our strategy is already approved and it's being implemented. And the steps we go through involve three main components. The first one is assessment, the second is development, and the third one is evaluation and approval. And we iterated through these three components using different approaches. We first built a group of experts from different stakeholders. During the assessment, the purpose was to understand the local contexts and to figure out what is important and the content of the strategy document. And as part of this, we tried to assess the local and regional policy framework, which offer general frameworks and general guidance. These frameworks also act as an inspiration to start having a digital strategy policy document. And among these include the Ministry of Education's training and education policy, which defines the mandates and authorities of the ministry. And it also helps us to assess the local challenges and issues in the education sector and how EdTech can contribute to unlock the potentials and solve or address these challenges. The other framework, local framework, facilitates the Digital Ethiopia 2025. This is a national digital strategy which prioritizes education as one of the sectoral priorities in the transformation of the country digitally. And the third is the Africa Union's regional framework. This gives foundational building blocks, and we actually followed this the regional framework, and we contextualized our framework based on the assessment results. Fourth, we also try to assess global and local tech trends and the practices. This includes all the practices implemented by development partners, by neighboring developing economies and other developed countries, and we try to identify the major interventions and major initiatives that should be initiated or instantiated by the ministry or the government. In the second phase, we developed, or the team developed, the policy framework, and then the next iteration becomes between development and evaluation. And finally, the document or the strategy document is approved by the leadership, the Ministry of Education leadership, and His Excellency the Minister. During evaluation, we have gone through a lot of techniques or methods. We try to organize very small groups who can give us feedback on the initial drafts and the ones improved after. We also had larger groups, multiple larger groups of discussions, workshops with all the stakeholders that we think that tech will affect them. And by this, we try to engage every stakeholder and to hear the voices of these stakeholders. And during this process, a lot of development partners have supported the development process, including the World Bank, the MasterCard Foundation, the UNICEF, and so forth. And most of our partners, development partners, contributed in giving feedbacks and further developing the document. In terms of,
can I ask you to go to the recommendations, because we are short on time?
Well, good. There are actually some challenges that we face it, which I can describe it as pre-development and post-development or implementation challenges. To recommend some important points, I recommend one, to focus on addressing the grand educational challenges, such as ensuring access, inclusion, diversity, and quality. And we can follow, or you can follow, a mix of approaches here. And you should also think of in terms of an ecosystem or holistic approach, because most of the interventions components are interconnected. For instance, availability of technology requires the skills and knowledge to use it, and that also requires data for further decision making and the like. And also, I recommend to promote and support development of open public goods, open products, and open services, which will be developed progressively, such as open content, OER, open platforms, and the like. Use platforms and prioritize and follow coordinated effort is one of the challenges that we faced. Is we experience siloed interventions or initiatives that are instantiated at multiple steps, and start small and focus on progressive development and put the boundaries beyond what is possible. Thank you, Lucia.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. And now let's go to Jacob from Zimbabwe, that are in the process of developing their EdTech policies. Jacob, what are the lessons that you can, the steps that we went through and the lessons and recommendations for other countries that are developing their EdTech policies?
Thank you very much, Lucia. Hello, everyone. My name is Jacob. I am from Zimbabwe, and we are in the process of developing our own EdTech policy. In fact, our journey began in 2016, where with the assistance from World Bank, when we had Dr. Tom Cassidy leading the technical team, we did develop a draft ICT policy in education. What was the first step that we did? The first step that we did was to formulate a technical working group. This comprised members from the Department of ICT and e-learning, of which that's the department which I belong to. And this is the department responsible for ensuring implementation of ICT throughout the Ministry of Primary and Secondary Education, which is where I belong. So what we did, after setting up the technical working group, it was the one responsible for developing all the logistics required, coming up with the concept and how the roadmap on how the process should be done. So once we did that, we then also identified key members from other departments within the ministry and also with other line sister ministries, for example, the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of ICT, the Ministry of Justice, amongst other important ministries. So this was the group that then formed the bigger steering committee. So having set up these groups and given each other tasks in terms of reference, we then proceeded to do consultations. First, we approached our schools, all our schools throughout the country, where we gave different stakeholders, the school leaders, the school heads, the parents, the communities to come and give input, including the learners themselves. So having gathered all this information, we then came back and consolidated this information. And from that information, we identified, we tried to classify our findings under thematic areas. We had a pillar that was touching on infrastructure, a pillar that was touching on capacity building, a pillar that was touching on change management. We had these broader pillars. We also looked at the pillar of sustainability. So we tried to categorize all these findings under these pillars, and then we came up with key, as we're developing the key policy domains using these thematic areas. And then under each thematic area, we developed key action, key elements, things that needed to be achieved under those pillars. So unfortunately, in 2016, when we finalized our draft, we failed to secure funding to take our policy to the next steps. And also, there were some changes politically within our country. Then we had the First Republic, and then with the coming in of the Second Republic. So there were a lot of other changes as well, which necessitated for us to then revisit our own policy, a process which we then began early this year with equally the assistance of World Bank. We have had consultants working with us, Lucia, Bob, Changa, and with also assistance from the local World Bank team. And through their efforts, we have managed to revisit the 2016 draft and update it so that it also, reflects the changes that have happened. We now have a new national ICT policy, so we also had to update and align. We also have got a broadband plan. The ministry, my ministry, is also launching a new curriculum, a heritage-based curriculum, which promotes innovations amongst a host of other things. So we also had to have a policy that also aligns to the framework and the demands of the heritage-based curriculum, amongst other changes. The broadband plan, my country has launched a broadband plan which will ensure connectivity to schools. So this is what we have done. So at the moment, just last week, we were busy consolidating those findings. and we have updated the draft, which we will present to our senior managers. And once we present it to our senior managers, we will also adopt whatever suggestions. Obviously, before we did these national consultations, we had a visit by Lucia Bob, where we met with stakeholders in Zimbabwe from various sectors, development partners, members from other line ministries, where we discussed to find where the gaps were from the 2016 draft, so that it was a phase which was meant to prepare us, such that as we went for the national consultations, we had some input from these important stakeholders. So in short, this is where we are. So once
Any recommendations, suggestions to other countries?
So suggestions to the other countries, please, you need to start early whenever you're formulating policies. And please always stick to timelines, because one of our challenges was initially we were meant to do our consultations in August, because this is when teachers were on holiday and it was going to be an easy task for us. But because we failed to meet the timeline, we delayed, and September passed, then we had to do it in October. And now our teachers were now having exams, public exams. So, it made it a bit difficult. And we want to encourage you that when you're developing your own policies, align them to some national events that are likely to trigger changes in your own policy. Like in our case, we have aligned our policy to the heritage-based curriculum, which is a 7-year cycle. So whenever the curriculum comes to an end and it's reviewed, we'll equally review our policy. But obviously, we are guided by the National ICT Policy, which is usually reviewed after every 5 years, and we'll also equally abide and stick to the same timelines. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacob, and thank you all for sharing your experiences with us. I think that the common points that were mentioned is that time is very sensitive. There are technical, but also political aspects to develop a net policy. So you need to make sure that you dedicate the appropriate time for having a good document, but then allowing for consultations with different stakeholders and with the political negotiations to approve the policy. And think about coordination of the different, someone mentioned silos. EdTech policies have different dimensions, have different pillars. So thinking about implementation and coordination of the different strategies is very important to make sure that it's not only a document that is going to rest in our tables, but it's really something that's going to change education. So thank you so much for your contribution. And I think it was a good sample of what we can expect during this week. We are going to learn from each other, to think about what went well, what didn't go well, and how you can really improve and advance and get mobilized for the use of technology in education. So over to you, Chan, again, or to Bob directly. I don't know who is going to lead from now on. Thank you so much for our panelists.
Bob, over to you, our Honorable Minister of Education at the United Republic of Learning.
My colleagues, it is good to be back with all of you. As you know, my name is Robert Hawkins, your Honorable Minister of Education from our United Republic of Learning. I know I see many new faces out there, so welcome to our vast ministry. I would like to start off with something that was just said. Time is of the essence. I am lucky to still be in this post after our last meeting in April 2023. At that meeting, I urged you all to take action. The president was hounding me for these policies, strategies, but more important, he wanted to see action. And here we are, a year and a half later, and we've had some action, some policies, some strategies, but we must do much more. So I will be urging you during these next few weeks to take the next step, to urgently take action in each of your ministries so that we can see progress. Now, I'm going to start where we ended our last Policy Academy. You know, as you know, I'm a poet and I love language. but I'm not the best poet. So I need help often. So I've just posted how we left our last Policy Academy in April 2023. And I'd like to remind you all where we were and what we said. So I'm going to read our poem that we left from April 2023 to inspire us for this next stage in our journey. And remember, I called this poem Rise, United Republic of Learning. Congratulations to the education innovators from the United Republic of Learning. You rise as dream bearers, stirring embers of hope, wielding light as tools, hearts as drums of change, innovative minds bold in purpose, unafraid to reach and range. Mauritius, Mauritius, stands with courage, wisdom clear and bright, to let data rise like stars, guiding paths in the darkest night. In Ethiopia's lands, Moulinet, teachers bloom anew, skillful hands lifted, dreams long overdue. Kenya gathers voices, every hand, every heart, crafting bonds of strength, unity's spark. Uganda stands bare, unflinching, unashamed, for rural cries call, no more lives unclaimed. Rwanda, Bella, Rwanda leans into the pulse, where ideas grow like trees, roots deep in purpose, their branches free. And Malawi will pioneer as teachers engage, new ways to see, new ways to gauge. Nigeria's vastness, like the river's embrace, empowering girls, a force with boundless grace. In Senegal's reach, an open school stands tall, out of school youth, none too small. The DRC, eager, strides towards equal ground, to learn, to lift where dreams are found. In the Sahel's sands, wisdom crosses line by line, open learning built by knowledge fine. Mali, brave Mali, dreams of blended skies, where hybrid paths lift minds high. Togo sees teachers learn and lead anew, igniting fires once dim, now true. From Seychelles shores, voices rise strong, empower every learner in heart where they belong. Urgency echoes, calls each name to transfer, to grow, no learner the same. So rise, innovators, rise as one, in fields of learning as morning sun. For dreams stir loudly, restless bright, united you shine with Africa's light. So again, this is how we ended our last meeting. And this is where I want to begin with some calls for urgency for us to think and reflect and ensure that we continue the journey to develop the policies and actions that will empower our youth in the future. So I'd like to pause and I'd like to get some reflections from some of our colleagues. We heard from our colleague in Tanzania the importance of situation analysis. We heard about Rwanda and coordination. In Ethiopia, the challenges of open public goods. And in Zimbabwe, the importance to reach down to the schools to understand what they're doing. I'd like to call on my colleague Allison, because I think I want to start with this vision of the future, where we will end at the end of the week on Friday, talking about how you see technology supporting a new model of education, looking at ways in which to reach all of the students, both in school and outside of school. And the process that was started last Policy Academy with open schools, I think is very interesting. So Allison, let me ask you to reflect on some of the challenges that you've faced since our last Policy Academy and some of the key questions you and the team from Senegal would like to answer for this Policy Academy. Allison.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much, Bob. Yes, so in Senegal, there's a very, very large out-of-school population. And the team has really, in the last Policy Academy, I should say it was really a seed, right? A seed of thought in terms of how could we use a hybrid approach to reach at least a portion of this out-of-school population and then grow that approach more and more to adapt to reach all different kinds of learners who have it was mainly about
Alison, you're breaking up a little bit. Not sure if it's your connection or your mic.
Shoot. Okay. Is it any better?
That's
Bob?
much better.
How do we shared vision and reach those who are the most vulnerable, and then grow that approach, right? Start small and then grow. In terms of the challenges, if I can, I'd like to pass the mic to our one of our main collaborators, Basiru, he can talk a little bit about some of those challenges because he's been the coordinator, kind of pulling the work together on the Senegal side. Thanks so much. À vous, Basiru, si vous êtes connecté. Merci.
Abu, to you, and please, you remember our translation service in our bottom corner. But Abu, if you can share some of the challenges in Senegal to realize this dream for open schools and reaching out-of-school youth.
Merci, bonjour tout le monde. C'est un plaisir d'être avec vous aujourd'hui pour vous parler du projet École ouverte du Sénégal au nom de l'équipe nationale. C'est un projet que nous sommes en train de mettre en place et qui a comme objectif de mettre en place un dispositif d'enseignement-apprentissage adapté pour l'enrôlement de 25 000 enfants déscolarisés âgés de 12 à 16 ans, dont plus de 50% de filles. Donc, nous nous sommes fixés cet objectif parce que nous avons constaté que malgré les efforts les lourds investissements qui sont consentis par l'État dans l'éducation, avec les élèves qui décrochent, ces investissements risquent d'être vains. Donc, pour résoudre ce problème, nous nous sommes pris l'engagement d'essayer de prendre en charge ces élèves déscolarisés. Et c'est un processus qui a commencé depuis la session printanière de 2023, session à laquelle nous avions élaboré un projet. Et ce projet a pu être affiné lors de la mission conjointe avec les pays du Sahel. Et depuis lors, nous avons mis en place une équipe technique nationale qui implique tous les acteurs. Et avec l'accompagnement de l'équipe EdTech de la Banque mondiale, nous avons pu tenir plusieurs rencontres physiques et virtuelles pour l'étude de faisabilité et élaborer un document de projet. Et depuis lors, donc, plusieurs étapes ont été franchies. Et récemment, nous avons mené une enquête sur les déscolarisés pour comprendre les raisons de la déscolarisation et aussi identifier les occupations actuelles et les aspirations de ces jeunes, afin donc de formuler des recommandations pour les stratégies de réintégration, réorientation et la prise en charge des besoins qui sont identifiés. Et donc, dans l'étude de faisabilité aussi, l'état des lieux des infrastructures numériques, notamment les équipements, l'accès à Internet, les logiciels éducatifs, a été fait. Et je rappelle donc que nous sommes toujours en phase de développement. Nous attendons l'analyse des résultats donc, de cette enquête pour continuer. Voilà en résumé la situation de notre projet École ouverte au Sénégal. Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Ba. Amina, are you with us today to share a similar initiative in the Sahel and maybe reflect on what you hope to learn from this policy academy? Amina.
Thank you, Bob. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me fine?
Perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Amina, to you.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. So to briefly share, as was just mentioned by the Senegal team, we've been closely working with our counterparts from Burkina, Chad, Mali, Mauritania, and Niger on this ambitious open school program. at the regional level. So as it was mentioned, we had the opportunity to collaborate with the Senegal team, as the approach is similar. But the difference is we are ambitioning to do this across countries. So this all started at the first phase of the Policy Academy, which provided this platform for sharing and to really think through a common vision, common objectives to address common issues that our Sahelian countries face, which is the high number of out-of-school kids. Just to give you a sense of the numbers, across 4 out of the 5 countries, Burkina, Chad, Mauritania, and Niger, we have almost close to 16 million out-of-school kids between the ages of 10 and 18. So this is the challenge that our Sahelian countries are trying to address through this flexible, innovative service delivery model. And we've been working closely with the Senegal team. So in the first phase, the teams worked on this common vision, and that concluded with a very detailed, very well done feasibility study. That was the central piece that informed this big component under a regional project that we are currently preparing to take to the board by the end of this calendar year. So what we expect from this second phase is really to work through the operationalization, the implementation readiness. In parallel, the countries are already working on some of the legal requirements. What are the things that are needed at each country level to make this happen? So this will be a follow-on discussion to the very interesting Policy Academy. So we have a team of 20-ish people from the 4 countries now in this second phase. So it will be very exciting. I see some of them connected, but we're not prepared to talk. But just if you allow me, if Monsieur Ahmed Ba, vous m'entendez? I'd love to give them the opportunity to share a little bit. It's a very dynamic team that continues to work closely together.
We have very short time. The president is calling me for another meeting soon, so we'll have to wind up here in about 15 minutes. But Ahmed Ba, it's wonderful to see you again. Our paths crossed many years ago. So please say a few words, and then I would like to call on Yogesh afterwards to share his reflections. Ahmed.
Okay, over for my end.
Monsieur Ba.
Oui, je vous écoute,
Let's
je vous
proceed.
écoute. Oui.
Monsieur Ba, si vous pouvez partager en 1 minute le travail qui a été fait dans le cadre de l'école ouverte du Sahel. C'était pour vous donner l'opportunité d'introduire l'équipe du Sahel. Merci.
Oui, bonjour.
En français.
Allô?
Je vous entends, allez-y.
Voilà, donc nous avons déjà travaillé d'abord sur l'audit qui a été fait. L'audit qui a été fait par le consultant national. Allô? Est-ce que vous m'entendez?
Oui, allez-y. On vous entend très bien, merci.
Répétez Tchad. Voilà. Donc, je disais que nous avons préparé l'audit, enfin, nous avons fait un audit avec le bureau d'études qui a fait ressortir un certain nombre d'informations. Ces informations sont relatives aux enfants qui sont en dehors de l'école. Il est relatif à une quantification des enfants qui sont en dehors de l'école parce qu'ils ont décroché ou bien ils n'ont jamais été à l'école. Les enfants qui sont réfugiés au niveau du camp d'Embera et surtout la partie aussi soft équipement, c'est-à-dire tout ce qui concerne la connectivité, tout ce qui concerne la partie équipement en termes d'électrification, au niveau de connectivité dans les régions, en milieu rural, mais aussi en milieu urbain, etc. Et là, nous avons donc une photographie assez importante des besoins, mais aussi des défis et des contraintes qui peuvent surgir à tout moment. Nous avons associé aussi le ministère de la formation technique et professionnelle, parce qu'il y a un volet qui est extrêmement important dans la partie formation technique et professionnelle, pour qu'on sache exactement, on répertorie d'abord le nombre d'établissements de formation technique et professionnelle qui existent sur l'étendue du territoire, sur le nombre d'enseignants, sur les modules qui sont enseignés, sur la possibilité de pouvoir utiliser ces structures pour la partie EdTech ou l'école ouverte, etc. Voilà, donc c'est pratiquement de façon un peu ramassée ce que nous avons fait au niveau de la Mauritanie.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Ba. I'm going to give 1 minute to our colleague from Mauritius, Yugesh, to share a little bit about data, because we've touched upon the open school, which we'll go into more depth on Friday. We've talked about digital infrastructure, which Monsieur Ba just talked about. And we've touched briefly on digital skills and learning materials and digital content. But I want to hear more about the challenges that you hope to realize these next few weeks with regard to your data and your systems.
Yes.
Yugesh, I wonder if you can share some reflections from Mauritius. Yugesh.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Minister. I mean, for us, our story is like that. I mean, since 2017, we've started a new reform, and it was very important for us to kind of give technology to the primary schools. So all our primary schools in Mauritius, to the tune of 257 schools or so, the children there were provided with tablets to enhance learning and using technology as a leverage. And you will understand that this required a lot of funding, but also a lot of internal capacity to digitalize the curriculum. So our approach was more on the side of partnership. We partnered with foreign country, friendly country like India, and of course we had a revisiting of our network locally with Mauritius Institute of Education, Open University, Mahatma Gandhi Institute for the Asian languages, where we had, a gargantuan task ahead of us to digitalize the curriculum. So I will say that as of now, Mauritius has been able to provide tablets to all its primary school students, but we also have catered for the continuity in pedagogy whenever we have school closures, temporary school closures, a gamut of pedagogical videos hosted on the cloud. So also the MBC, the national TV, airing these video programs when the schools are closed. We are also currently having the open educational resource policy that touch the primary, secondary, and tertiary subsectors. And for the time being, we're very busy in implementing Google Classroom, the fundamentals version, as a learning management system. So that requires of us to be very strategic in our action. So what we are here talking about is a strategic orientation map to implement an EdTech strategy that will be a unifying document, and talking about 6 strategic objectives to implement and see clearer the way ahead of us. So I'll just give you very briefly about the strategic objectives. We're talking about reimagining the role of technology in education, thinking about how AI can help us. Strategic objective number 2, engaging and empowering learning through technology. That's the learning side. Strategic objective number 3, teaching with technology. Strategic objective number 4, the leadership, creating a culture and conditions for innovation and change. Strategic objective number 5, assessment, measuring for learning. Strategic number 6, infrastructure, enabling access and effective use of technology, and strategic objective number 7, let's say we'll have 7.1, accountability, setting up of a robust database for policy decision for analytics. So that's about it, Honorable Minister. That's what we are thinking ahead in terms of our EdTech policy.
Thank you, Yogesh. This is very pertinent because these are the themes that are coming up in each and every one of your policies and strategies. And what we'll be focusing on this next few weeks will be supporting all of us to expand these policies, which sometimes have to go to cabinet level, the strategies that are more under our control, and more importantly, the action plan. We can't do everything at once, and time is of the essence. So again, I thank everybody for their reflections. As you know, I am not the best poet. And part of the underlying theme of this event will be, as Yogesh said, reimagining education and the important role that AI and new technologies are playing. So Femi, welcome from Ghana. But I have to admit, at the end of our last session, I took the synopsis of the most important elements that came from each of your countries, and I asked my friend ChatGPT to write a poem in the voice of Maya Angelou. And this is what emerged, was our beautiful poem that we ended our Policy Academy. So I shared a prompt with you in the chat so that you can see exactly how I was engaging with my assistant. I call her Maya to help me write my poetry. So we'll be learning more about AI as a cross-cutting theme all week. We'll have colleagues from MasterCard Foundation, but from Microsoft rather, and OpenAI, as well as I hope Google DeepMinds. I'm not sure if they're with us today, as well as a colleague from FCDO, Sam, who will be kind of sharing some perspectives on the importance of AI. But what I want to do now is, because we want to model this Policy Academy on how we might approach hybrid learning in our own countries, we will have these types of synchronous sessions, but I encourage all of you to use the learning platform that we're using in the United Republic of Learning to ensure that all of us are sharing the best of our knowledge and ideas. So I'd like to pass over to my colleague Sarah, who will give kind of a brief overview of the platform that we'll be using over the next few weeks to, again, share our experiences and delve deeper into knowledge when we don't have the opportunity to be face-to-face. So I must run soon, but I thank you all, and I want to assure you that time is of the essence. I'm not sure how much longer I will be in this post, but I hope I will make it the 3 weeks for us to finish this Policy Academy. So over to you, Sarah.
Bonjour à tous, je vais présenter la plateforme en français et je vais parler doucement pour que l'interprète puisse présenter le tout en anglais. Donc la plateforme d'apprentissage est la suivante. Pour ceux qui ont déjà pu se connecter, c'est super. Pour ceux qui n'ont pas pu, n'hésitez pas, si vous rencontrez des problèmes, à nous demander. Un premier élément qui est très important, c'est que pour pouvoir changer la langue de la plateforme d'apprentissage, vous devez cliquer en haut à droite ici sur langue. Et puis ensuite, vous pouvez cliquer sur anglais ou français. Vous trouverez, je vous fais un tour d'horizon très rapide, vous trouverez sur cette plateforme l'organisation de la structure par semaine, c'est-à-dire que vous avez premièrement l'introduction avec les différents objectifs d'apprentissage. Ensuite, je vous invite à aller tout de suite explorer la section Commencer ici, donc qui vous souhaite la bienvenue dans cette formation et qui vous permet de commencer à rencontrer vos collègues. Et la semaine 1, Découvrir, dans laquelle vous allez pouvoir retrouver les enregistrements des différentes sessions. Ici, vous retrouverez par exemple la session de la cérémonie de lancement. Et puis, dans les prochains jours, vous pourrez voir les sessions des tables rondes qui apparaîtront ici sous forme de vidéo, avec les audios, les transcriptions et les messages clés disponibles. Elles seront toutes accompagnées d'un petit exercice que vous trouverez ici. Et puis ensuite, je vous laisserai découvrir plus tard, donc la semaine prochaine, le contenu de la semaine 2, pendant laquelle vous aurez à travailler sur la feuille de route, ainsi que le contenu de la semaine 3, pendant laquelle vous pourrez revivre les présentations finales et également nous partager votre avis sur cette plateforme. Si vous avez un quelconque problème sur l'utilisation de la plateforme, je vous invite à cliquer sur le tutoriel qui est ici, ou bien alors à cliquer dans le mail que nous vous avions envoyé plus tôt pour pouvoir avoir accès à ce tutoriel. À nouveau, si vous avez un quelconque problème, n'hésitez pas à nous en faire part. Et ce sera tout pour le tour de la plateforme. Donc, Chan, over to you for conclusive words. We're done with the platform tour.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Okay, so this is the end of the launch event. Tomorrow, please make sure to connect at the same hour. We will be circulating the meeting link again. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about panel 1, which is on devices and connectivity, and we invited Tanzania, Kenya, and I think a couple other countries to talk about their experiences and the challenges. So be on the lookout for the invite, and we'll connect together again at the same time tomorrow morning or afternoon based on your time zone. So talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.